Welcome back. We are working on our Windchill calculator, and we have our model class, and we're writing our form validation methods. The last video covered temperature validation, and then we're going to do the wind validation. And I don't recall if I added these two variables in the last video or not, but we've created our wind range, lower value and upper value, and we did this based on the formula from the NOAA Windchill calculator. So we used the values they had. So we have a lower and upper range, and we're going to write another method just like temperature valid. And so what we're going to do is this looks like it is the same, right? And we could just put isValid as a form, and we can run both of them through here. But what we're going to do is we're going to make a little modification. So open up the isTempValid, and one of the things I want to do is show you how to get some better feedback about your field. So if it's empty, right? If it is empty, we want to not only return a false saying it's not valid, but let's at least indicate that they have to fill something out on that field. So watch what we can do. We already have access to the field because we passed it in on this parameter right here. We already have an edit text we can work with. So if we have that, we call it field. Guess what we can do? We can set an error. So I'm going to put a little error message. You must enter a number. Okay? And you can add please if you want to be polite, or you can just leave it like that. It's just the field.setError. And then there's another error down here where in this case it's true, so that's good. We don't need one. But if we are not in range, we should go ahead and set the message on here as well. So we're going to do a set error again. And this time the message is we need it between the lower and the upper value. So I put a little temp must be between, we end with a quotation mark, put a little plus sign, and then we're going to do the lower temp range, like so. We add a little plus, hit enter. Okay, so be between the lower temp range and, sorry, I hate it when it does that, and the upper temp range, period. So, oh, we need the plus sign, don't forget. So basically what we're doing is that if we trigger a false, in other words, temperature is not valid, we're going to go ahead and pop a little error message on the field. And this is why isTempValid is unique, and isWindValid will do the same thing in just a moment. The last thing here is this exception E, and what this is, as you may recall, we talked about integer parse int, and that if we try to parse it, we're unable to, it would trigger an error. And this would be really hard to trigger, and here's why. I'll show you. If you look at content main, for example, and let's look at, we're talking about temp, so we want to find the edit text that talks about temp. It's our first edit text. One of the things is we have an input type of what's called number sign. So this won't even allow the user to enter a character. So there's really going to be no way that they can get that particular one wrong. However, if I take it out, and I'm going to show you, okay, now this is a bad idea. Don't recommend you do it. So don't actually do what I just did, but just watch what happens. Go back to the model, and if we have this exception, the reason why this got triggered is because this line of code, we weren't able to parse it. We already know that it's not empty because if it were empty, we would have returned a false and we would just ignore everything else. Okay, so it's not that it's empty, it's just that there's some kind of a string we can't do. So in this case, we'll go ahead and set error and say entry must be a number, not character. Something like that. go ahead and test it out. Oh, wait, do we have it test here? Is temp valid? Yes, we do. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and run it. Okay, there's my emulator. Apparently I have to unlock it. All right, so we're doing temperature. We're going to go ahead and try to not have, you must enter a number. All right, let's go click over here. And we'll give it some letters, characters. See that? And entry must be a number, not a character. Okay, so we go back. And we're going to change this. And then we're going to try temperature. We're going to try negative. Really big number. Temperature must be between negative 50 to 50. All right, so our errors are all working. And then we had the must enter a number. We got the entry must be a number, not a character, and temp must be between. The only thing is you'll notice there's no space between the N and the negative 50, so I'll put a space there. Okay, so at this point, this is the model for the is the field valid. And really the only difference are all these set error messages and then what field we're dealing with. So we're just going to go ahead and write the other method for isWindValid, and we're going to use basically the same code sample. Now, in my other tutorial, I was doing the same thing, and I copied and pasted, and that was kind of a pain because all my messages were wrong. So in this case, I'm going to redo. I'm going to just type the whole thing from beginning to end, and then I'll probably just go ahead and record me doing that in fast motion because you don't need to hear me talking about it. It's basically the same format. And then we'll try to piece it all together. All right, I don't know if you caught it there, but when I was going, I had that little red underline. I was trying to figure out what was going on, why I didn't like the method, until I realized on the if is empty, I didn't have a return false. So what happens is whenever you have a method that returns a value, you've got to make sure that every code path returns a value of the right type. So in this case, it has to be Boolean. We have a return false, return true, return false, return false. And notice, in this if block, we have a return statement. In the else, we have return statements. But entirely wrapped within the else is this try-catch block. So because there's no other statements outside of the try and catch, it's okay that there's not a return statement in the else. But there has to be one in the try. There has to be one in the catch. And within the try, because we add another if and an else, we need one in each. These are called code paths. And we just have to make sure that any path the code may go through will have a return statement. If we leave it out or it's commented out, it triggers an error. It will not compile. And so that's a bad thing. The other thing we need to do is go back and fix that content main. So I'm just going to undo what I did before, and that's the input type number signed. I want to make sure that's in there. And we have an input type on both of our edit text. Input type number signed. Okay, so we're good on there. We need to test it out now in our main activity. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit on the isWindValid and move this over, and let's test it out over here. I'm just going to go ahead and add it to these chains here so we can just test the same thing. That's an if model, oops, wrong one, sorry. Model dot isWindValid, edit wind, like so. We'll do a new line. Wind is valid. Else. All right, we can go ahead and test this now. All right, let's test it out. Get Windchill. Look, both of them have error message. You must enter a number on the temperature. We've already validated that, so I click it. I click over here. You must enter a number. Be between 4, 109. So we'll try 4. Now both say they're valid. We try 444, and now it needs to be between 4 and 109. So we'll just go ahead and go back here. We'll try 44. Now both are valid again. We'll try the 109. That's okay. 110. Not okay. All right, so I've basically tested out. We've got everything ready to go. All we really need to do is calculate the wind chill. We're going to let the model do that, but you're going to have to stay tuned for my other video because we don't have time. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck.